I pretended to be my twin brother at his job for a week. It went too far. Hi, my name is Tyler. I'm 30, single, and deeply mediocre. I work from home as a freelance copywriter. I write blog posts about things like 10 ways to feng shui your home office and why your cat deserves a retirement plan. It's boring, but it pays rent and lets me wear sweatpants 24/7, so blessings. Now, my twin brother Trevor is the opposite. He's clean cut, extroverted, wakes up at 6 a.m. by choice, and works in some fast-paced, high-rise corporate job downtown doing, I still don't fully know, something with clients, PowerPoints, and lots of acronyms. Maybe sales, finance. He once tried to explain it to me, but I blacked out halfway through the phrase Q4 synergy realignment. Anyway, last Sunday night, I got a call from Trevor that would ruin the entire week. Trevor, dude, I need a massive favor. Me, does it involve money? Trevor, no, kind of, not really. I need you to go to work for me. Me, huh? Trevor, I woke up with the flu. I've got a huge presentation this week. If I'm not there in person, they'll give it to that jerk Josh and he'll take all the credit and they'll probably promote him. Me, you want me to pretend to be you in an office with your coworkers? Trevor, yes, you just have to show up, sit in some meetings, nod like you understand things, and don't say anything stupid. Me, Trevor, I once thought a VPN was a kind of sandwich. Trevor, just don't talk about sandwiches. Please, Ty, you owe me. He had a point. I did owe him. He bailed me out once when I accidentally set off a fire alarm at our cousin's wedding while trying to light a mini creme brulee with a blowtorch. So I agreed. God help me. I agreed. Monday morning, I arrived at Trevor's office building wearing his suit. We're identical, same size, annoyingly convenient, and holding a travel coffee I didn't even drink just to look professional. Immediately, I was overwhelmed. Security guard, morning Mr. Mitchell, lady in the elevator. Hey Trevor, loved your Slack meme yesterday. Intern, sir, I printed your client briefs for the RDP R&R huddle. Me, RDP what now? Intern, haha, classic Trevor. I smiled and kept nodding. Turns out, confident silence is a power move in corporate settings. They assume you're smart and contemplative, not that you're trying to remember what an RDP is. The office itself was a glass and steel monstrosity with open concept desks, too many plants, and motivational posters like, think outside the box and then burn the box. I sat at Trevor's desk, opened his laptop, and stared at 6 open Excel files like they were ancient hieroglyphics. I tried to click around, but every cell I touched did something horrible, like recalculate all formulas or crash the whole spreadsheet. I ended up Googling how to act like you know Excel and took furious notes. Then came the first meeting. It was a stand-up, which sounds fun, but is just 10 people standing in a circle, listing things they did yesterday and pretending their lives have meaning. Everyone had updates like, close 2 mid-tier client funnels through the new SaaS pipeline. Redesigned the UX onboarding journey for mobile. Initiated migration of the legacy framework to a cloud-first schema. When it was my turn, I panicked and said, I circled back on the vertical strategy loop to ensure alignment with the growth quadrant. There was a pause. Then someone nodded. Ooh, smart. Another. That's very you, Trevor. What the hell? I was making up nonsense and they were eating it up. By lunch, I was a god. I found Trevor's Slack channel. The amount of messages was ungodly. I clicked into a thread titled Q2 Rollout Timeline Stress Palooza and typed, let's streamline the bottlenecks and micro-target pain points. Instant reactions. Back. Someone messaged me privately. Trevor, that was genius. Can we chat strategy at 3? I had no idea what time it was or who this person was. So I replied, loop me in post-sync. Let's vibe out some painkillers. Pain points. I sent it before I could delete it. They replied, love the energy. I was unstoppable. But then, the printer happened. I needed to print something. No idea what. I just saw someone else doing it and thought it would look normal. I went to the sleek little printer station, scanned Trevor's ID badge, hit print all, and watched in horror as 73 pages came out. Apparently, Trevor had a backup queue from last week. Charts, emails, a half-finished resignation letter, And, horrifyingly, a very detailed meme of a raccoon with a caption, "When the client says quick revision." I panicked, stuffed everything into a folder, and walked away like nothing happened. Only later did I find out that folder was labeled Trevor Mitchell Strategy Review Decks and was handed to the CEO for afternoon prep. I wanted to die. 3 p.m. The presentation. Remember how I said Trevor had a big presentation? Yeah, that was today. Not tomorrow, today. I walked into a conference room where people wore blazers under their blazers. One guy looked like a sentient stock portfolio. They expected me to lead a 15-minute talk on client retention via predictive onboarding metrics. I didn't even know what two of those words meant. I stood up, plugged in the HDMI cable, the screen flashed, raccoon meme, big on the screen. Everyone stared. I coughed. Sorry, that was intentional. It represents the chaos of unmanaged expectations and how we must become agile scavengers in the wild world of client deliverables. Silence. Then the CEO clapped. Brilliant metaphor. No freaking way. I survived Monday. I got home, ripped off the tie, and called Trevor. Me. You owe me so big. You're lucky I have the weird gift of bullshit artistry. Trevor, sniffling. How did it go? Me. I gave a presentation that was mostly a raccoon meme and they applauded. Trevor. Oh, God. Me. I think your boss wants me to lead a strategy session tomorrow. Also, who's Josh and why does he glare at me like I stole his lunch in his dreams? Trevor. That sounds like Josh. Me. I'm in too deep. Trevor. You're doing great. Me. I almost married your intern's espresso machine in a moment of panic. Trevor. Just keep going. One more day. Spoiler. It was not just one more day. So, Monday was an absolute whirlwind. I pretended to be my twin brother Trevor at his fancy corporate job, bullshitted my way through buzzwords, gave a raccoon meme-based presentation, and accidentally impressed a room full of people who make more in one quarter than I've made since 2019. The worst part? They love me. I went to bed with a headache, a weird adrenaline high, and a Slack message from someone named Natalie asking if I wanted to spearhead the innovation happy hour, whatever the hell that meant. Tuesday, innovation, happy hour, and trouble. I showed up slightly earlier than Monday because I figured if I was going to impersonate a high-functioning adult, I might as well commit to the bit. Security guard. Morning, Trevor. Elevator lady. Trevor, that deck yesterday was lit. Deck? Was she referring to the 73 pages of chaos I printed by accident? No time to dwell. I got to the desk, opened Trevor's laptop, and found an Outlook invite labeled Brainstorm Brunch, 9 a.m., rooftop patio, dress, business, casual. First of all, brunch? At work? I've worked from home in my underwear for 5 years. This was like visiting another planet. I had no idea what I was expected to say, so I copied some phrases from LinkedIn posts and created a note on my phone with things like leverage empathy to drive consumer intimacy, gamify the pain points, lean into frictionless friction. I don't know what any of that means, but people nod when I say it. 9 a.m., rooftop brunch of the damned. About 15 people were seated around a long teakwood table like we were about to film an episode of The Real House Interns of Tech City. The view? Gorgeous. The tension? Palpable. Josh was there. You remember Josh, the guy Trevor hates. He looks like someone who owns several NFTs and brags about not using sunscreen. He stared at me like he was trying to telepathically explode my brain. I smiled and gave him a little finger wave. He blinked, slowly, like a cat. or a serial killer. Natalie, the one who invited me, stood and said, "Okay, team, let's let Trevor kick things off with his idea incubator." I stood, held my mimosa with both hands, and said, "Let's talk about toilets." Now, hear me out. I meant to open with something about flushing out bad ideas, but I panicked, and all I could think about was the time I wrote an article called 5 Ways to Feng Shui Your Guest Bathroom. So I lean into it. I believe innovation is like a good toilet. Quiet, powerful, and capable of handling shit under pressure. Silence. Then a laugh. From someone. Then another. Natalie smiled. That's so raw, so human. Josh looked like he wanted to yeet himself off the rooftop. I kept going. If we want real progress, we need to plunge our assumptions, scrap out old paradigms, and yes, sometimes jiggle the handle of creativity. I blacked out a little. When I came to, everyone was applauding. Someone literally said bars like I just dropped a verse. What was happening to me? Noon, HR drops in. Back at the desk, I tried to find anything that resembled normal work. Instead, I found an invitation. HR Wellness Chat with Clarissa, 1 p.m. Uh-oh. I messaged Trevor. Me, bro. HR wants to talk to me. Help. Trevor, just be cool. Clarissa loves me. She probably wants to invite you to the retreat. Me, retreat? Trevor, yeah. They do a thing every quarter. Ropes courses, group meditation, trust falls. Me, if I die doing a trust fall with Josh, you owe me your PlayStation. 1 p.m. HR. Clarissa. Clarissa looked exactly how I imagined an HR person would look. Cardigan, big mugs with slogans like "People First" and eyes that have seen too much. She smiled as I sat down. "Hi Trevor, how are you feeling after yesterday? That raccoon slide was iconic." "Oh," I said. "Yes, it was inspired by unmanaged chaos." She nodded like I'd said something profound. "Listen, I just wanted to check in. You've been different lately." Crap. She knew. "I mean, in a good way," she added quickly. "You've been more relaxed, more authentic. People are responding. You're trending on our internal forums." Internal forums? They're calling you corporate Gandalf. What? "We want to fly you out to the Phoenix office next week. Lead a wellness keynote." I blinked. Like a speech? Something short, motivational, something that makes people cry and think about their moms. I was in too deep. I nodded and said, "I'll start building the deck." 4 p.m. Josh strikes back. I was sitting at the desk reading Slack messages about whether pretzels count as brain food. When Josh came over and leaned on the partition. "Trevor," he said, "that was quite the speech this morning. Toilets?" "Real shit," I said, instinct. His smile was the kind that comes before a stabbing. "I just submitted you as team lead for the quarterly offsite." "That sounds like a lot of leadership." He tapped the desk. "Hope you're ready for 48 hours of workshops, camping, and night hikes." I Googled how to survive corporate retreat, and the first result was don't go. 6 p.m. Damage control. I called Trevor. You need to recover faster. They want me to lead a speech. Also, something about Phoenix. Also, camping. Wait, you're going to Phoenix? That's huge. That's like promotion track stuff. I've invented a toilet metaphor economy. I've committed too far. They think I'm Gandhi with a company email. Don't panic. I gave a speech about poop and someone asked me to mentor their nephew. Okay, maybe panic a little. 9 p.m. Reflection. I sat in Trevor's apartment drinking boxed wine and thinking about what I'd done. The weirdest part? I liked it. The buzz of people thinking I was smart, the attention, the dumb inside jokes, the feeling of being in a building full of other people doing something. I hadn't had coworkers since 2018, or a real conversation about something other than freelance invoices. Maybe I missed this. Even if it was a lie. Even if it was a very elaborate lie that involved identity theft and motivational speeches about plumbing. If you're just tuning in, I'm Tyler, 30, unemployed-ish. I pretended to be my identical twin brother Trevor, an actual corporate guy, while he was sick with the flu. I bullshitted my way through meetings, gave a presentation with a raccoon meme, and somehow became a minor workplace legend. By day 3, I was officially invited to lead a corporate retreat, and somehow I said yes. Why? Because I was curious. Because I was drunk on power. Because I hadn't felt this alive since my fantasy football league imploded in 2021. But mostly because I'm very, very dumb. Wednesday, the retreat. The company rented a retreat center about an hour outside the city. Think cabins, pine trees, hiking trails, and overpriced granola bars in the wellness center. I rode up in a van with 5 people from Trevor's team. Josh, the corporate nemesis, claimed the front seat like a threat. I sat next to Natalie, the endlessly enthusiastic project manager who once called me a visionary because I said the phrase frictionless innovation out loud in a stairwell. We arrived and were greeted by a woman named Cinnamon, probably not her legal name, who gave us lanyards, mood crystals, and something called an intention notebook. My intention? Survive without going to prison. First activity? Trust fall circle. Of course. I've never understood why companies think the best way to build trust is to fall backwards into the arms of someone who once side-eyed you for taking the last donut. I got paired with Josh. He smirked. I'll catch you. That did not sound like a promise. I fell. He caught me, but like, barely. I ended up on the ground in a weird half cradle. You're heavier than you look, he said. You have the soul of a dentist, I replied. We did not speak again for 2 hours. 2 p.m. The campfire talk. As the retreat's wellness keynote speaker, what a play, I was scheduled to give a motivational speech in front of 40 co-workers while standing near a crackling campfire. The only public speaking I've done before this was a best man speech at a wedding where I quoted Fast and Furious and cried halfway through. So naturally, I panicked. I opened my intention notebook and scribbled down a few phrases. Leadership is like hiking, mostly uphill and full of bugs. Be the granola bar you wish to see in the world. Trust isn't given, it's laminated. Then I stood up and started talking. My actual speech, mostly verbatim. Hey everyone, I'm Trevor, obviously. Someone coughed. I think it was Josh. I know I've been kind of different lately. That's because I realized something. Pause. We've been living in a spreadsheet mindset. Columns, rows, numbers, deadlines. But life is messy. Like a s'more. It's gooey, it sticks to your fingers. It's chaotic and kind of gross, but it's also sweet, makes you feel like a kid again. Someone said wow out loud. Let's stop optimizing and start humanizing. Applause. Full freaking applause. I wrapped it up with a quote from a fortune cookie I got once. Don't chase the chicken, let the chicken come to you. Nobody knew what it meant, but they nodded like I'd just read the Dead Sea Scrolls. 8 p.m. Disaster. The night was going weirdly well. People were singing acoustic versions of Taylor Swift songs, there were marshmallows, I was finally relaxing, and then I made a fatal error. Someone asked, "What's your secret, Trevor? You've changed." And instead of saying something chill like therapy or Pilates, I said, "I realized I'm not who I thought I was." Which is technically true, but the room got weirdly quiet. Josh narrowed his eyes. "What does that mean?" Natalie leaned forward. "You being so real right now." I panicked, tried to pivot. "I mean, we all wear masks, right? Some of us wear, twin masks." Josh blinked. "Did you say twin?" "No, wind masks, for skiing." I excused myself to check on the firewood, then hid behind the cabin for 20 minutes and seriously considered faking rabies. 10 p.m. The fire. I should not be allowed near campfires. That's just the personal rule. But someone said, "Hey Trevor, can you toss more wood on the fire?" And I wanted to look helpful. What I didn't realize was that someone had used citronella oil to keep away bugs. Long story short, I tossed the wrong log. A small explosion happened. About someone's Patagonia fleece got scorched. I got tackled by Josh, who screamed, "Sabotage!" like a guy auditioning for Survivor Psychotic Edition. We all got sent to our cabins early. Cinnamon said, "This is not the kind of energy we want in our sacred fire circle." I nodded and said, "Same." Midnight, the unraveling. Josh cornered me in the hallway of the cabin lodge. "Who are you really?" I tried to bluff. "Just a guy, doing his job, following the grind." He held up his phone.
"Your email signature says Trevor Mitchell, but I checked the employee portal. You never used your corporate ID to log in this week." "The crap." He kept going. "Also, you called the coffee machine a liquid bean robot. Trevor calls it by model number." "Who does that?" Josh stepped closer. "I know you're not him." I swallowed. "You can't prove anything." He grinned. "Wanna bet?"
When we left off, Tyler, was pretending to be my identical twin brother, Trevor, at his corporate job while he recovered from the flu. I bluffed my way through presentations, retreats, and motivational toilet metaphors. I'd become accidentally popular, gave a fake campfire speech about life being like a s'more, and almost lit someone on fire. Now, Josh, Trevor's arch nemesis and suspiciously intense coworker, was onto me. And by onto me, I mean he was threatening to out me as an imposter in front of the entire company. Cool. Thursday, the reckoning. Back at the office, the retreat hangover was real. People were exhausted, sunburned, and emotionally fragile. Natalie wore sunglasses indoors and whispered things like, "My soul is full of moonlight." Josh, on the other hand, looked energized. "Big day," he muttered as he walked past my desk, grinning like a shark with an HR degree. I opened Trevor's laptop and saw it. A calendar invite. All hands town hall, 2 p.m. Guest speaker, Trevor Mitchell. Excuse me, guess what? There was also a message from Clarissa, HR Queen of Earth. "Hey Trevor, so excited to hear what you prepared. The team is buzzing. Bring that campfire energy." Campfire energy. The energy where I almost committed arson and invented metaphors about laminated truss. I was out of material, out of luck, out of time. 11 a.m. Emergency call. I found a stairwell and called Trevor. "Dude," I whisper scream. "They want me to give a keynote. Josh is trying to expose me. I think someone made a Slack channel called #TeamTrevor, and people are trading my quotes like trading cards." Trevor coughed. "Bro, chill. Easy for you to say. You're at home watching Narcos. I'm one bad metaphor away from federal prison. Just own it." Own what? Everything. The toilet speech, the raccoon mean. Hell, the s'more monologue. You've accidentally made these people feel something. I've worked here for 5 years and nobody's ever looked at me like I'm a prophet. I blinked. Wait, you're not mad? He laughed. No, I'm amazed. I've been blending in forever. You walked in for 4 days and started a movement. There was a pause. Okay, I said. If I go down, I'm taking Josh with me. Deal. 2 p.m., the town hall. The auditorium was packed. Lights, projector, microphone, even Cinnamon from the retreat was there, holding a crystal and nodding at me like we'd shared a past life. Clarissa stepped up to the podium.
Today, we're thrilled to welcome someone who's redefined what it means to lead with a soul and strategy. Please give it up for Trevor Mitchell. Applause. I walked up. My palms were sweating. My brain was empty. And then I saw Josh. Sitting in the front row, smug as a cat in a sunbeam, holding a file folder labeled Personnel Records. He was going to do it. Expose me. Right there. So I decided to beat him to it. The speech. Hi, I said into the mic. My name is not Trevor. Gas. Clarissa blinked. Natalie dropped a crystal. My name is Tyler. I'm Trevor's twin brother, and he's had the flu all week. A pause. So quiet you could hear someone chewing a kind bar. I never meant for this to get out of hand. I was just supposed to fill in, sit in meetings, smile, not say anything dumb. But I did say dumb things, and somehow y'all thought they were brilliant. View chuckles. I gave a presentation about raccoons. I talked about toilets at brunch. I may or may not have lit someone's jacket on fire. Laughter. And yet you listened. Not because I'm special. I'm not. I'm a freelance writer who works in sweatpants and once Googled how to invoice a dog walking company. But something happened here. I felt welcome, important, seen. I looked directly at Josh. And maybe the lesson here isn't that I fooled you, it's that maybe this place, this job, this culture could use more people who are just a little bit unpolished, a little weird, a little too honest. I stepped back from the mic. Silence. Then Clarissa stood and clapped. Natalie joined. Then a few more. And then a standing ovation. Except Josh. Josh stood, held up the folder, and yelled, "This is a clear violation of company policy." Clarissa turned to him and said, "Josh, you once billed the company $78 for a thought leader cape. Sit down." He sat. I walked off stage feeling like I'd just survived a TED Talk and a trial for identity fraud simultaneously. Aftermath. Trevor returned the next day. He was met with applause, hugs. 3 people brought him kombucha. HR gave him a formal warning for unauthorized identity substitution, but also offered him a position on a culture committee. Josh was moved to the Boise office. For leadership reasons, according to the email. Clarissa called me personally and said, "You ever want to give a real workshop? Let me know." And Natalie? She emailed me later that week. You ever think about doing this full time? I think you've got something. 1 month later, Trevor went back to his job, more confident than ever. People listened to him. They quoted him. One guy asked for a raccoon deck. As for me, I now run a small business, helping companies write internal messaging that doesn't suck. I call it Humanize This. I write speeches, craft newsletters, help CEOs say things like pivot without sounding like robots. People pay me actual money for this. It's weird, but good. Also, I own 5 blazers now. Final thoughts. I went into this week thinking I was helping out my brother. What I didn't realize was
I needed this. I needed to remember that I'm not just the lazy twin, or the one who peaked in community college. I'm a guy with stories, with instincts, with accidental charisma, and a very specific talent for bullshitting professionally. If pretending to be my twin taught me anything, it's this. You don't have to fit in. You just have to show up, be human, and occasionally say something about raccoons. So yeah, I impersonated my twin brother for a week and accidentally became a corporate legend. Moral of the story? Never underestimate the power of confidence, chaos, and a well-timed toilet metaphor.